This is not aged stone that's created this terrible, terrible expression. This is exactly as it was carved, and the lines coming from behind the head, they show that there is some aura or ectoplasm coming from this head. And basically what it is that these are the horrific serial killers of the spirit world. And this is what the Roman emperors worshipped. They worshipped these horrific, nasty, devilish type characters that had no compassion, no empathy, and they worshipped these characters to give them strength. They gave them offerings of food, offerings of wine. I mean, there was sacrifice of slaves that were taken from countries that had been conquered by the Caesars and the emperors of the Roman Empire, and they were doing everything they could to give power and give spiritual forcefulness to the spirits of these kind of serial killer type gods. And they have these horrific faces, terrible faces, but they have the bodies of young children. And that personifies the pantheon of so-called gods which the Roman emperors worshipped. And they also worshipped the planets as well. The known planets at that time were moving through the sky, and they were also worshipped as well. Zeus was the word for Jupiter from the Mediterranean world. So, this is a really important repository of stones, because you've got lots of astronomical symbols here. You've got universes, galaxies, you've got stars all represented here, and you've also got these horrible serial killer type demon characters all carved into stone. These were all altar stones, or they were all gravestones. And when a Roman emperor or a Roman member of the Senate died, they would have one of these nasty, evil kind of serial killer type spirits carved into their gravestone. And there's lots of astronomical symbolism here, because astronomy and astrology were one combined science. And the reason why astronomy was important is because the planets were thought to be fueled by a living entity, a living spiritual life force. And that's why the Chaldeans, and then the Greeks, and then the Romans all put a great amount of emphasis on combining astronomy and astrology. And we see that at Dendera. The ceiling of Dendera is an ancient zodiac, and here we see on the altar stones and the gravestones of the great and the good of the Roman Empire, the Roman rulers in the Mediterranean more than 2,000 years ago, we see that they put spinning galaxy symbols on all of these stones. and there's a lot of them. Here's a typical one, where you've got the body of a young child, but with the face of somebody who's in their 50s or their 60s. And this is very, very typical of the types of gods that existed, before we had, Christianity. The only other big major religion at that time in the Mediterranean was Judaism, which had been developed by the Chaldeans, which Chaldea is a province of Iraq, the Babylonians, and they moved up into the area which is now Jerusalem. And really basically what we're looking at here are demons. The Jewish people call these kilopoth, and kilopoth means that they are the husks or the shells of mistakes made by the creative force. So God created these as a mistake, and the Roman Empire, emperors worshipped them, and so did all of the Kabbalists, all of the people that were following the Solomonic system of magic from King Solomon. The clavicule of Solomon, the Goetia, actually teaches you communication systems so that you can actually have seances and magical rituals and actually speak with the kilopoth. And why are they being worshipped? They're being worshipped because they're the mischievous, naughty elements of creation. And all of the black magic being taught in the world of the Chaldeans, which became Judaism, is actually fostering a cancer, a spiritual cancer. So that, if you want to simplify things, creation is good. The universe is good. The reproductive life force of Mother Nature is good. And what these people were doing is that they were worshipping and bringing forth and giving sustenance to the horrid kilopoth, who have been fostered to a degree where they've formed a kind of spiritual cancer. And that's really essentially what these demons represent. Now, they don't hold the same form all the time. They have certain forms where they appear in the mind's eye of the magician as weird things like a head of a toad, a head of a man, and a head of a crab, legs of a spider, legs of a man, all joined together. That's like a calling card, so that you know, I've now summoned, say for example, Lord Baal. And at the magician's command, they will take human form, but it's a twisted human form. It's a distorted human form. It's a parody of what the life force and what Mother Nature does. And that's what they worshipped. And then in terms of real genealogies, Romulus and Remus, or the wild child kind of legend, the wild children left in the forest and brought up by jackals, and they just learned, the law of the jungle, if you like. That is what the Roman emperors said that they came from. Their genealogy is all linked to these wild children that are brought up in jungles and forests by animals, because they'd survived and they'd overcome adversity, they'd managed to protect themselves, they'd managed to drink the milk of wild animals, they'd managed to act like animals and get accepted by wild animals which other humans would be attacked by. And that, for the Roman emperors, was a sign of strength. And so therefore they wrote those wild children into the genealogies of their families. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. I doubt very much whether it is true, to be honest. I think it's probably all a lie, and they know it's a lie, but that's what they used to do. After that, then what happened is that the Saxe-Gotha clans and the Saxe-Altenburg clans started to say that they were descended from King Solomon, who is one of the most notorious magicians of the Judaic system, and he wrote many books telling you how to communicate with the Kilipoth. And in the official genealogy books in London, you can see that the royal family of Britain, at Buckingham Palace, claim that they are descended from King Solomon. So these tombstones are a very important archaeological discovery. A farmer was ploughing a field and he found all of these altar stones. Some of these are gravestones, some of them are altar stones, and they're all altar stones from the Roman Empire, and these were in houses built by the Roman Caesars and the Roman warlords in the Mediterranean. They gathered them all together and buried them into the ground in one field, as if they were embarrassed about these horrible demons that the Roman Caesars were worshipping. What typifies these weird Kilipoth beings is that if you look into their eyes, there is absolutely no empathy, no compassion, there is no laughter or feeling of goodwill towards anyone. They have been deliberately created in the first place to be the empty husks. They're beings, but they have no soul, and the soul has no compassion. And Judaism and Chaldaic Babylonian magical systems worships these beings, and so did the bosses, if you like, of the Roman Empire. And the Roman Empire just changed itself into the Holy Roman Empire, and I believe that it is these discompassionate, weird husks of beings which are still being worshipped to this day amongst many of the Catholic cults, and I'm including Freemasonry and the Corazon Club, the Order of the Nine Angles, and many of these other cults. Some of those members are actually masquerading as being cardinals and Catholic priests, and they even wear Catholic robes. In reality, they are worshipping these beings that have coldness. They have no compassion, no empathy, and no heart.